Let's talk about Jamal Hill. After a convincing win over Glover Teixeira in Rio de Janeiro, Hill became the #1 contender in the UFC's light heavyweight division and in turn retired Teixeira on his home turf. But it is Hill's actions and words that have left many puzzled. Recall Dana White committing an act of domestic violence against his wife in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico on New Year's Eve. The UFC president, who refuses to step down and thinks being admonished is enough punishment, grabbed his wife's wrists, with which she reacted, and in turn, White reacted as well, striking her not once but twice. TMZ Sports obtained the video from the nightclub. Hill, at 31 years old, would tweet the following after the video surfaced. Quote, "If you don't want to get hit, don't hit nobody, period." And then he would write, "She should have acted like a real woman with respect and class." In addition, Hill wrote, "It's crazy that women want to just be able to assault men as they please. And we expected to take it and never be human. Y'all go ahead, bro," which sounds like the rumblings of a certain man who is currently imprisoned in Romania. Hill, though, would post on Instagram the following with a shout out to the man himself. UFC champions Uriah Hall and Aljamain Sterling also commented their support for this despicable person. Should Hill, though, be promoting and taking advice from that guy, 36 years old, and his brother, who were arrested alongside 2 Romanian women on December 29th on allegations of the R word and participating in a criminal ring that exploited women to create pornographic material? That's the guy that you're quoting and looking up to. A 16-year-old spoke with the BBC on how that guy sent flirty texts via direct message, even with knowledge that the 16-year-old was in high school. Tate would say women should bear responsibility for being essayed. His Twitter account was revoked, then, with the Musk takeover, seemed to be reinstated. Local authorities said they had identified 6 victims in the human trafficking case who were subject to acts of physical violence and mental coercion and were sexually exploited by the members of the alleged crime group. That person has sadly been proven to be popular with many fighters seen here in the UAE. UFC champion Leon Edwards, bantamweight contender Sean O'Malley, they shared photos of themselves with the 2 brothers. Lest we forget, O'Malley thought White's wife was deserving of being assaulted by the UFC president. On top of this, the UFC's John Anik, a real quality announcer who has had great calls, would call Hill classy, which received mixed reviews and rightful criticism. Overall, would a classy individual use the R word to defend Dana White putting his hands on his wife, an act White's own mother said has happened previously in their relationship, adding that women want equality, but then we're supposed to take the high ground? No, we are human too, bruh. A few points. First things first. Much of the culture within the UFC starts at the top, and it is with Dana White. And it is also with them sort of playing it by ear on how a fighter who is involved in a domestic dispute is punished. Dana White said, there's one thing you never come back from, and that's putting your hands on a woman. Yet many of his fighters have, including the late Anthony Rumble Johnson, John Jones, and many others. The examples are aplenty for White and his organization on how that is wrong and completely hypocritical. And what's also interesting is you have UFC fighters defending Dana White over and over again when he continues to say, "Stop defending me."
I mean, I said it before, and now I'm saying it after I've done it. You don't ever do it. Don't defend me. Don't anybody defend me. There's
but he also
there's
said,
no reason.
Pause, please. He also said there's no coming back from it, and people have been reprimanded for it, and that's not happening here.
Hill is essentially saying it's okay to put your hands on a woman when it is certainly not. as we do know. You also have within the culture Dustin Poirier having some interesting likes on his Twitter. You have Brazilian fighters doing photo ops with Jair Bolsonaro, who lost the election to Lula and who has called for a military coup. One UFC fighter of Brazilian descent backed that as well, saying that there should be a military coup against Lula's election win over Bolsonaro. Many other fighters posing with the Tate Bros. Incredibly problematic. I ask, what example does that set? The culture, in my view, not completely, but lots of it is rotten to the core. It is the modern day Ultimate Fighting Championship. And we haven't even gotten to journalist Kareem Zidane uncovering UFC fighters' deep connections with the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov. There is a lot there. I highly suggest you go and read Kareem Zidane's piece because it is eye-opening.